Welcome back to our biology session. Now, in this particular lesson, we are going to dig deep, okay, into the stages of growth and development. You remember in our previous session, we were trying to measure, okay, growth, okay, and we were using weight and time in form of years. And we came up with a curve, which I had mentioned as 4 stages. Now, these 4 stages, as I had mentioned, include, number 1, we have the lag phase, which is the first phase. Then we have exponential, we have, okay, decelerating phase and plateau phase. Now, we are going to dig deep. Our objective is to learn in depth about these 4 stages. So, let's start with our first stage, which is lag phase. So, lag phase, as I've mentioned, is the first stage of growth, okay? There's little growth, so the curve is a little bit slow, okay? And the rate of growth is slow due to the following reason. Number 1, we have very few dividing cells. Number 2, the cells have not yet adapted to the new environment. So when you see I've written adopted, that is incorrect. The word is adapted, okay? Let's go to the second phase of growth. It's called exponential phase. Now, as you had seen in the curve, lag phase is slow. Now, exponential, it grows. Something exponential means the growth is very sharp. So, the rate of growth is at maximum in this second stage. And the maximum or, the rapid growth is due to the following. Number 1, the number of dividing cells have increased. Remember in the previous stage, we had few dividing cells. Number 2, okay, the cells now have adapted to the new environment. Number 3, the requirements of growth, as we had mentioned in one of our last lessons, are not limiting, okay? So you will find that we have enough oxygen, okay? We have enough nutrients and so forth. Number 4, the reason for rapid growth is that the rate of cell increase is greater than the rate of cell death. So cells are increasing, okay? And the rate at which cells increase is greater than the rate at which cells die. Then we go to decelerating phase, okay? Now in decelerating phase, the growth curve starts to slow down. Now the reasons as why the graph starts to grow down, most cells are fully differentiated, okay? Number 2, few cells are still dividing. That's why you see we still have a positive gradient. Shortage of resources, both external and environmental, or external and environmental. So we may have shortage of oxygen, we may have shortage of nutrients, we may have limited space. Let's say in a given house, okay, or let's say in your family, if your parents just decide to give birth, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and then they fill the space, where will you have the space to grow? You need a space, okay, that you occupy, and then you are able to grow. Then accumulation of metabolic waste. Remember, cells divide, okay, they give out metabolic waste in form of urea, in forms of CO2, depending on species and organism. So when there's accumulation of metabolic waste, we know that living organisms cannot thrive in the presence of metabolic waste because this waste becomes toxic and can kill cells. Then limited acquisition of CO2 or carbon dioxide in case of plants. When plants cannot get enough CO2, they will not be able to make simple sugars like glucose. That means they will not be able to grow. So those are some of the reasons as to why we have now a decelerating phase. The rate of growth is low, okay, in that particular stage. And then now we have plateau. From our basic geography in Form 1, we know that a plateau is a raised flat land. Now, I want you to be very keen. Every book will tell you a plateau phase is where the growth is constant. Now, in Bafunde, we don't teach you to pass exams. We teach you the correct information, and we try to make it, as useful as possible. So I want you to be keen in this particular lesson. Plateau phase generally is flat, But, okay, the shape of plateau phase can either be increasing, flat, or dropping. And we are going to learn that, interestingly, using mathematics in the next lesson. So the growth curve in plateau phase is fairly constant. It's not constant, it's fairly constant. And it's due to the following. The rate of cell division, which is cell increase, actually equals cell death. And cells die in two forms. We have what is called apoptosis, okay, which is programmed cell death. Now, for example, let's say red blood cells, which are cells that you have been learning from primary, erythrocytes. They are programmed to die after every 120 days, approximately. It knows that my days here on earth or in my in so and so's body is 120. After 120, they die. So most cells have their lifespan. After that, they die. That is called apoptosis, programmed cell death. And then we have what is called necrosis, okay, which is a different type of cell death. Now, necrosis happens, or it's a process where a cell dies after it has experienced a tissue injury, it has been injured, okay, or if it has been invaded by a disease-causing organism. So immune cells will come. We have seen an invader, and then they mount on it, and then the cell will die through a process called necrosis. So another reason why the curve is nearly constant is nearly all cells and tissues have differentiated. So we have no further increase in cells. Moving forward, as I had mentioned, the nature of curve, okay, at plateau stage may vary depending on the nature of the parameter. Let's say weight, height, and volume. Okay, so we are going to look at these variations in plateau phase in the next lesson. And be ready, because I'm going to teach you a concept that you are not going to find anywhere in books. It may not help you in exam, but you are not going to forget it in life. So, do you have any question related to the lesson that we have had today? If you do, head over to our chat section, post the question. Your fellow students will be able to help you, and we are happy to help here at Bafundi Academy. Now, for all that, see you in our next lesson. Bye-bye for now.